You're listening to Living Free, your podcast for a life full of freedom and magic. I'm your host, Tanja Hirsch, and I hope that every time you listen, you feel a little bit more inspired to follow your intuition and to create a life beyond your wildest dreams. Welcome back, my loves, to the Living Free podcast. Today, I will be diving into one of my favorite topics because this has changed my life so much on so many levels, on the way I feel about myself, in my body, in my life, in my relationships. And the topic is called self-sourcing. So I'm going to share what this means and also how it's related to your mother wound. And this is what I will be diving into first, to give you a background or bring consciousness into this area where you might not even be aware that you have a mother wound. So we all grow up normally with mothers. If you didn't have a mother, you might have had a mother figure, a caretaker that represented the mother role model in your life. And our mothers show us how to love ourselves and how to love others in the way how she's being. And that's why I'm so passionate about sharing this work, because we are creating a new generation right now where this is the new normal. We are the generation breakers. We don't want to pass our traumas on. We are the ones to heal. So we create a life where it is normal to be loved and to have self-love and to be the embodiment of this work. Because if you as a mom sacrifice yourself, you will show your kids that it's normal and okay to sacrifice yourself for others. If you show your kids that it is normal to be, full of self-love and to take care of yourself, even if for some people that might sound egoistic, this is the word I want to create, where this is normal, because you as a mom, you are the role model to your children. So if you're listening and you're a mom, or if you're listening and you had a mom or a caretaker, it's literally for every woman or man. So the way your mother loved herself was the role model to you on how normal it is to love yourself. So if you had a mom that might have not really loved herself, that sacrificed her dreams, her career, her well-being to please her husband, to please you as kids, to live a life that's expected from her, but really what that did was lowering her own love for herself, then this might be normal for you in your life right now, that you don't know how to love yourself. You know how to love everyone else, but you don't know how to source yourself from within. So this is one area. She showed you how to love yourself through her embodiment. But she also showed you how to give unconditional love, if that's something you received. Me personally, I didn't receive both pretty much, and most of my clients didn't, but many people received either one or the other. Maybe you're one of those. So maybe your mom loved you unconditionally, like I said, sacrificed herself almost to give you love, to be a good wife, to be a good mother, but paid a really high price for that by cutting everything else off. And if we don't look at this might be a pattern you keep until you're a mom yourself and you pass it on to your kids, that it's just normal to not take care of yourself and to not go after your dreams. And this is not the life that I want to live as a role model for my kids and for everyone I meet, even especially for myself. So if you experienced unconditional love for your mom, it might be really easy for you to give love to other people. If you haven't received unconditional love, it might be really tricky for you to trust other people when it comes to love, that there's always something you need to do or to be in order to be loved. And honestly, most of us grew up like this, that you were loved and you were the good girl until you behaved a certain way, until you showed your sunny side, until you were quiet when you went into restaurants, until you were the good girl, basically. No needs, no noise, no space, just be there, be brave, be happy, be there. And if your anger, your sadness, your full range of expression never had a chance to be expressed and released, you might have cut that side off of you, because you know, in order to be loved, I have to behave a certain way, I have to be a certain way. If I show my rage, I will be sent to my room, I will be outcasted from my family, I will be not loved, love will be withdrawn. And that happens especially if you have parents with emotional immaturity, which most of our parents have, because these tools were never given to them. And that doesn't mean that they are bad people, they are amazing people, and I have the best parents that I can imagine. But when it comes to emotional regulation, they just didn't know how to. So the only way they knew how to was to send me to the room if I wasn't, you know, sunny and happy and joyful, because their nerves were already like overwhelmed from all the things that were already going on, that if I asked for something or I expressed myself freely, it was just too much. And that's how I learned from very early on to not express my anger, to not express my rage, my sadness, to, if I feel that way, either do it silently or distract myself from not feeling it, because it triggered this feeling of being unlovable if I show this side. And especially this part of feeling unlovable is a deep, deep rooted wound that most of us have, mostly connected also to the fear of abandonment, that if someone sees this side, we feel like they're going to leave us. There's a lot of root wounds connected to this topic. So when you look back at your life and you really feel honest into that, and I know that can be hard because we don't want to put our parents off the pedestal we sometimes put them on. To be really honest, did you receive unconditional love, or did you have to behave a certain way? Did you see what true self-love means, or did your mom sacrifice herself? And how did that impact you in your everyday life, in your patterns, in the way you relate to others, in the way you show up for yourself, in the way you treat yourself? And I've been on my healing journey many, many years now. Many, many years. I started with psychology when I was 15 in school, and I was really interested in how the mind works, how the mind-body connection works, how communication works. This is how I started. I wanted to soak up everything. And then I went deeper through yoga and meditation and breath work. And I thought I'm really into the healing field. I tried all the things, and I always had a side that just knew that there's more out there than just the physical world. As a child, I was very sensitive, and it comes back now, but I just knew that there's something we cannot understand with our mind. And I'm sure if you listen to my podcast, you are one of these human beings as well, or at least you're interested in it. And so when I dove deeper and deeper, every layer I shed, every past version of me that I released, every identity that I was attached to, when I finally surrendered and dove into my shadows, my deepest wounds, when I released the pain, the stuck emotions of my body, that's when the sensitivity came back. And that's when I learned how to self-source myself. And what do I mean by that? So when it comes to self-love, I feel that's a word that the marketing industry has misused a lot. Like, I meet so many women that think self-love means to go to a massage, to do facials, to get nice dresses, to go on a fancy holiday. And that can be something that gives you a little bit of the feeling of being special, of being loved for a small period of time. But to self-source means to give yourself love from within. And for me, true self-love comes in when you not only like do the facials and do the massages. This is like a surface level self-love. But if you dive deep into your soul and allow all these parts of you that you've been cut off because in the past you learned you're not loved when you behave a certain way, And I even thought for a very long time, I'm not an angry person. I didn't have access to this emotion. But when something triggered me that was too much, like when my ex-boyfriend, for example, when he broke up with me after 3.5 years in the middle of the night, 1 a.m. And all he said was, well, sex is such a big topic for you. I won't feel the desire to sleep with you in any further future, but I feel the desire to sleep with many other women. A normal reaction would be rage, you know, this is like, what the fuck are you saying? Like, I can feel it now even, but in that moment, all I could do was run away. I just grabbed my toothbrush and I ran out of the apartment at 1 a.m. No idea where I'm going to sleep. I just needed to get out. I couldn't stay in this room with him. And this was because I didn't have any access to my anger. This was the moment there's supposed to come anger. There's supposed to be anger in your body, to be felt, to be moved through you, to be released. But I just ran out. I didn't know how to handle that. It was just too much, or I didn't feel it at all. And when I dove deeper into that and finally released, it was like a shut door, so deeply locked. And when I finally unlocked all these doors and allowed the anger to come out, all these past memories came up where I didn't feel anger, where I was like, that's fine. I don't deserve more. That's okay. Or I blamed it on the other person. Like, who does he think he is? I'm such a hot woman. And he like said these things, or I even took it on like, oh my God, maybe I'm not desirable. I had a time where I felt really unsexy in my body and I felt like men are just not interested in me. It was a traumatic experience for me, but I just shut it off. I dissociated. I ran away. It was too much for me to handle. And when you start to self-source, especially in these moments when you're feeling triggered, this is true self-love. So instead of running away, projecting it on the person, instead of, you know, distracting yourself with food, with Netflix, with all the things you're so good at, doing when things get hard, when these unpleasant emotions arise, when you lean into that, when you allow it to come up, when you sit with it, be with it, when you hold space for for these parts on your own and not to look for someone to hold space for you, but to do it yourself, to be with you, with this little girl that's so afraid of being abandoned, with this little girl that's so afraid that she's not lovable, that if someone sees that part, that she's going to be rejected, to give her all the love from your nurturing heart. That's true self-sourcing, and that's true self-love. If you learn to embrace these paths that you've been running away from your whole life, that's true self-love for me, to talk in a way to yourself that you would talk to a child. If you find the strength, and this is freaking hard, if you feel the emotion of feeling unlovable in your whole being and all you want is to hide and to run away and to never come out again. And I'm going to share a little experience with you that happened to me when I went through this huge trauma healing cycle for the first 6 months almost of 2022. So when I was in this, it came up, it was like this sensation of feeling unlovable, feeling like a burden, feeling unseen, feeling like I just want to hide and not come out because I'm going to be a burden anyway. It just was like, Wah! And then for some miraculous reason, this beautiful woman showed up in my email list, and we both don't know how she ended up. I really trust and believe that there's a higher purpose there, like a higher guidance. And she had this offer for a one-on-one call in exchange of answering a few questions, and it was just a 20 or 30 minutes call. And for some reason, I signed up. I didn't know how this email ended up in my inbox. I just signed up because it sounded interesting. And then I was in this call. And within these 20 or 30 minutes, we dove so deep into the somatic experience of this memory that was still stored in my body, the part of myself that was longing to be seen, to be felt, to be heard, to be loved, and not to be shut away like I did my whole life. And when she was guiding me through that, and I work a lot with somatic healing too, you basically go into the sensation what your body wants to do. So your body is an oracle. Your body has the capacity to heal itself. Your body knows all the answers, but we have to find the stillness and the openness to surrender to it. So she said, what does your body want to do? And I was like, oh, I just want to hide. I want to crawl down. I want to be a little ball under my blanket and never come out again. And then I did that. She's like, follow that impulse. And I was like crying, feeling so unworthy, so unlovable. It was almost like, felt like dying and pain in every cell of my being. I could barely speak. It was so painful. And then she said, what does she need to hear to feel safe? And then it took me a lot of courage, a lot of strength to collect my nurturing, loving energy that I have so much of, and I share so freely with everyone else, but I didn't know how to do that for me and these parts, and that's the true inner work. And I collected that and I told her, you're so loved, you're so special, you're so lovable and worthy, and you're not a burden, you're actually a gift to the world, and to every person you meet, it's a gift that they can receive your presence. You are such a shining bright light. You are so, so loved and special and worthy, and I'm here for you. I'm not going to leave. And then I can't remember everything I said, but I basically showered her with love. And my body went from crawling and like hiding and being tense into softening. And I was like, my body just wants to open. And the mentor said, then do that, follow that. And my body opened. And I went from being small into being big, and I opened my chest and I could feel this warm golden sensation in my chest moving. And it was just such a liberating, healing experience to move from feeling so freaking unlovable to overflow with love from within. And that's the self-sourcing I'm talking about. Not to do a bubble bath when you feel unlovable, but to touch yourself with loving intention, to speak the kind words you would say to a child that's in that pain. But it's so hard to do that for ourselves. And sometimes we also need a mentor that takes us to these places because we're too afraid to access them on our own. And that's basically the essence of my work, one pillar of my work. And that's what we will be diving into in dripping in self-love. I want you to be so overflowing with love from within. I want you to be so confident in who you are being that you don't outsource love and validation anymore. You don't run around with your empty cup trying to fill it from some people or places, or even your job, from things from outside of yourself, to have a little bit of satisfaction for a bit, because this will lead to very toxic behavior and relationships, because you will accept breadcrumbs of love when in reality you deserve the whole freaking bakery. You deserve so much. When you finally feel the love from within, you can see the abundance that's already there, the gifts that you have to share. You will feel what a gift it is to be a woman. And I had this experience in my last plant medicine journey where I could feel the essence of our feminine energy. I could feel I felt like a goddess and a flower. I know this might sound freaky, but this is how it felt. Merging, and it felt like a flower being wet and open and receptive. And I could feel it with every cell of my being that this is our true essence. We are made to shine. We are made to be open. We don't have to chase. We don't have to prove. We don't have to look for validation. Just by us being in this receptive energy, this is when life gets to be easy. This is when suddenly the hustle stops. And this is the biggest mission for me right now, to bring women back into their feminine essence. And sometimes there's a lot of layers around that have to be released and healed and processed to be able to feel safe, to go from controlling and holding on and not trusting, to finally surrender and open. And just like a flower would never hide its beauty just because someone is intimidated by the beauty, right? But we do that. We're like, oh my God, it's not safe for me to shine my light. It's not safe for me to be overflowing in love because people took advantage in the past, or people could feel uncomfortable if I'm so pretty. And that's when you get the real glow, the real magnetism. If you finally see the love and feel the love that's already inside. I was looking for love my whole life. That was always the most lack I experienced, that I just didn't know how to love myself. And this is the work that will get you there, that will make you feel overflowing with love from within. And this is my invitation for you to join us for a 3-day immersion, my 3-day upcoming home retreat, Dripping in Self-Love, where you will meet yourself deeper, these parts that you might have shut off. And that's the thing, if you shut them away, of course they have power over you. If they're in the shadow, they're like, I have power over you, because if someone sees that, then you finally have the proof that you're not lovable. So you try everything to hide it, and then suddenly you shine light on that and you embrace it and you bring it back into wholeness. This part doesn't have power over you. So you won't accept poor behavior because you're like, this doesn't feel aligned anymore. I'm a freaking goddess. Why would I accept someone who doesn't text back? Like, it doesn't make sense. But if you're empty on love and these parts of you are in the shadow and you don't know how to love them and don't know how to bring them into light, of course they have power over you, because you try everything to not go there by yourself and make everything that's done. Other people don't see you in this space, that they don't see these parts of you. But this is where your power lies. And I was always afraid to go there. And now I'm like, why? This is it. Like, embracing these parts gives you the power, the magic, the overflow, the love. And right now, I'm so deeply grateful for my life. Like, the growth and expansion and healing that I experienced in the last couple of years, especially this year, I can finally see the fruits growing from the seeds that I planted in the soil a few months ago. And I'm looking at my little vegetable garden right now. And I've never been into gardening. I always thought I'm not good at it. And I always was a very ungrounded person. I was always traveling and going for the next thing and very unstill. And since I was forced to go there and really root here and to ground and to walk through the layers that made me not feel safe, to release all of that, I speak a lot about it on this podcast. When you dive into the deep soil on the root cause of why you not experience the things that you desire, and there's a lot of weeds down there, if you just pluck the weed from the top, it will grow back even stronger and will make your fruits go rotten. But if you go to the root and you grab it and you release it, and you have to make your hands dirty for that, right? And that's why most people don't do it. They're like, I'm just gonna cut it, it's fine. And then they grow bigger and bigger, and the roots grow bigger, and these parts have more power over you. But if you go to the root, you grab it, you're like, I'm not afraid of you anymore. You can come into the light. And you really nurture your soil, the root foundation. And then you plant the seeds into the dark soil. You can't see the growth from the beginning. You have to trust that this seed is going to grow fruits one day. And this is how nature works. But that's so hard for us as human beings. It's so hard for us to trust if we can't see it yet. We want the evidence. We want the control. We want to know. And if it doesn't come right now, then we're going to like drop it and do something else. In jobs and relationships, like, if I don't see the man coming right now that I desire, then I'm going to take something else that comes my way because it's better than nothing. But if you're overflowing from self-love, if you're overflowing from love for yourself and self-worth from within, you won't accept that, because you know what you deserve, and you can self-source yourself from within. You can give yourself the love that you were chasing your whole life. And that's where your power lies. That's when suddenly life gets to feel pleasurable. And this is our natural state of being, to feel pleasure. So I invite you to look into your life. Where are you outsourcing things in your life? Is it safety? Is it love? Is it validation? And how can you give that to yourself? And if you don't know how to give it to yourself, find a mentor that you trust. That's the essence of my work. So if you feel the calling, you know that you're ready to go meet yourself deeper, to fall in love with your sensuality, with the gift of being a woman. I mean, we are all a soul having a human experience, and our body is the vessel. That's what makes the difference between a soul and a human being. There's so many souls in the spiritual realm, but they are almost jealous of us that we have the senses, because they cannot feel, they can't feel pleasure, right? We have a human vessel. We can see, we can hear, we can taste, we can feel, and it's our true nature to experience pleasure through our senses, but we have to be present for that. If you're on your phone when you eat, if you watch a sunset and try to take pictures, you're not being present, you're not receiving the transmission, the pleasure from nature. And in my San Pedro experience that I had recently, I experienced an orgasm from every single sense. So I experienced an orgasm from eating a watermelon. Like, this piece of watermelon, I've never experienced something like that. I could feel the juice dripping out when I chewed on it. I could feel my whole body exploding with pleasure, waves of pleasure running through my body. I had to fall into my knees and like to really open to this experience of what a pleasure it is to be able to taste, to smell, to experience the abundance that nature gives to us. And you can make a pleasure ritual out of so many things in your everyday life that you do subconsciously. Like eating, you can make a ritual, feel the gratitude for the food, feel the sensation in your body, instead of just shuffling it in while you watch Netflix. Excuse me. Oh. And yeah, I mean, I saw a sunset and almost orgasm. I had energetic waves of orgasm. I touched my arms and every sensation felt like this explosion of pleasure. You can experience so much pleasure in your life that you're blocking yourself from. And that's why these healing spaces with women are so amazing. They've changed my life so much. My first yoni egg initiation with Nadine Lee. Like, seriously, it was an edge for me to be in a circle with women naked, massaging our bodies, having the yoni egg initiation. But it was so natural when you finally let go of the mind, like, what am I doing here? We're naked in a circle. But to be in your body, to hear, to see, to feel the women in their pleasure in a circle, it almost felt like a time leap back into Egyptian times, where we were connected to our bodies, to our sensuality, where it was normal, where we were worshipped. I also went through so many different goddesses during my San Pedro ceremony, and it felt so natural to just be in that divine energy, to be like a flower, to be open, receptive, full of trust. And this really shifted something within me. And I hope that you allow yourself to feel that too, to give yourself the love that you're so deeply craving, to give yourself the validation. Everything is already inside of you. And especially the thing that you're craving the most is your medicine. And if you feel like you want to dive deeper, so there's the self-love home retreat that you can do from everywhere in the world, 3 days, 5 live sessions, a deep dive into your soul, into your pleasure, that will definitely change the way you see yourself, your body, your life, your soul. And there's also my Nadine's upcoming Tantric Feminine Leadership Training, a huge initiation, a deep transformational journey, 1 week in Costa Rica in December, where I will be assisting, where we dive so deep into pleasure, into embodiment, into trauma healing, into all the things. So this week will definitely blow your mind, change the way you live your life forever. There's been so many evidences. She's done this training so many times, and every single woman changed her life after this training. So you can join us on that. And also, I have a giveaway coming up where I will give away amazing prizes. I won't tell you the prizes yet, but if you leave a review on my podcast, if you're listening to this podcast, you love it, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, send me a screenshot on iamtanjahirsch@gmail.com or on Instagram with your review before you press send, and you will be in the pot that I will draw the winners. I will get more information on that soon, but you can already do it to be in the pot for this amazing giveaway, because I want this podcast to be accessible for as many women as possible, to get this message out of how important it is to come back to our true nature, to come back into our feminine energy. So we stop the hustle, we stop the feeling overwhelmed and disempowered, to come back into our feminine radiance and power and magic, and to share from a place of overflow rather than a place of lack. So I would love to hear what this episode brought up in you, how it resonated, and I see you next week.